Hello, thank you very much. First of all, to the postdoc and PhD student special interest group and Ayaka and Natalia for inviting me here. So indeed, so you will see two names on this presentation, myself, Melanie, Stefan, and you also see Veronika Schlepigina. She is not my imaginary friend, I promise. She is a real existing person, she just couldn't make it here today. So I will present her slides as well as my own. How can I advance the slides? Hello. So I'll start by introducing ourselves and then introducing the idea of a CV of failures and the How I Fail blog. And then we're going to do a little interactive exercise with you, talking about your failures for a change. It will be fun. Great. So, who am I? I work on memory and cognitive function, and I do that by doing computer models, mainly about molecular pathways in the brain, and also looking a little bit at big learning data from online learning platforms and using that to understand student learning. As Natalia said, I studied mathematics and genetics in Austria, which is where I'm from, hence the accent. I then did my MSc research at the Max Planck Institute for Developmental Biology in Tübingen in Germany. And then I moved to the UK, to Cambridge, to do my PhD at the European Bioinformatics Institute. After that, I went to Caltech as a postdoctoral fellow from 2010 to 2013. And then I moved as a curriculum fellow to Harvard Medical School in Boston. And I joined the University of Edinburgh in 2015. So you will have seen speakers being introduced like that, introducing themselves like that, and I hope you're suitably impressed. But let's look at that in a bit more detail. So I told you I studied mathematics and genetics in Austria, which is where I'm from. What I did not tell you is that it took me 13 years to complete my math degree. Ladies and gentlemen, 13 years. Thank you, thank you. I was then, I told you I did my MSc research at the Max Planck Institute for Developmental Biology, a very important institute, a very important lab. My supervisor there told me to look for careers outside of science, which I think I take as meaning I was not doing that well. I graduated, though. I did my PhD at Cambridge, yay Cambridge, which was also the only PhD program that I was accepted to. So I had to go there, basically. Similar for my postdoctoral fellowship, I had applied for a lot of fellowships, and I received exactly one fellowship, which is, you know, better than zero, but it was close. And the lab experiments did not go exactly as planned. So one of the reasons why I'm a computational biologist today is that I'm rubbish in the lab. And I found that out the hard way during my postdoc. I told you that then I went on to do a curriculum fellowship at Harvard Medical School in Boston. You may ask, what is a curriculum fellowship? I can tell you what the party line is, which is that it is a postdoctoral training fellowship for higher education. I can also tell you what my postdoc advisor said. She said, it will be the end of your career. So then, as I said, in 2015, I moved to the University of Edinburgh, and so far so good. Nothing bad has happened yet, but we'll see. So my point being that what we tell you about our CVs and about our careers is just the surface, and there's a lot that you don't see underneath the surface. So let me also quickly introduce my imaginary friend, Veronika Schlepigina. She is a machine learning scientist at the Technical University of Eindhoven in the Netherlands. She did her PhD in the Netherlands at Delft from 2011 to 2015. And then she did a postdoc at the Erasmus Medical Center from 2015 to 2016. And Veronika sort of has thought a lot about this issue of failure in academia as well. But of course, she is not just a successful academic. She is also, she has a rich extracurricular life. So she blogs. I can absolutely recommend her blog. It's very interesting. She runs. She says slowly. I don't really buy it. She runs much faster than I do. She has cats. Those are her cats. And she noticed both in her running and her blogging and sometimes her science as well that she starts many projects and then she ends up stressing out and she sometimes fails at projects. And I sort of at the same time realized that, well, I fail a lot at a lot of things. So as Ayaka said in the introduction, in 2010, I wrote a little column saying, oh, maybe we should have, instead of having a normal CV, we should have a CV of failures where we list all of our failures. And it would be good, especially for senior people, to do that and publish their CVs of failures so that junior people who are just training see that this is absolutely a normal part of the process. I published that in Nature. It is the only thing I've ever published in Nature. Thank you. Yes, so nice. This was actually featured in Glamour magazine. This is also the only time I've ever been in Glamour magazine. On the negative side, if you now Google my name, the first thing that comes up is a CV of failures. Excellent. And Veronica sort of had a similar trajectory. So when she was applying for faculty positions in 2016, she had a lot of grant applications rejected, and she was basically on track to leave academia, or she thought she would be leaving academia soon. And so she wrote up her own CV of failures to show them and shared it with the world, which is like a tremendously courageous step if you're looking for jobs at the same time. And she got a very enthusiastic response to it on Twitter. And so she started about thinking, well, how can we get more people to share their failures? If it's actually it is quite difficult to share a CV of failures. It's quite a big step. So she settled on the idea of the How I Fail blog, where she interviews academics about their career failures. And it's sort of a nice interview format. It's not as daunting as a whole CV of failures, and it's very interesting to read. So she has so far conducted 26 interviews with researchers from different fields. She did one with me, yay! And it's a very interesting, I mean, not just the interview with me, in general, the other 25 as well, are very interesting blogs to read. I can highly recommend it. The lessons that Veronica tells me she's learned from it is that people are actually much more positive about sharing failures than she originally thought. But also we need to maybe rethink about how we define failure. So I told you about failing to get PhD positions, failing to get a job. You may think about papers being rejected, grants being rejected, but sometimes the failures we think about can be much more subtle, right? So, for instance, I'm very, very bad, and maybe Natalia can attest to that, I'm extremely bad at replying to emails. So these are failures that many people think about. The other thing she learned was that maybe because success is so rare in what we do, we should reward ourselves for effort and not for success. And also that it's important to keep track of successes. So what we thought we'd do today is we would do a How I Fail interview with all of you. And so the way this is going to work is it requires internet access, which I hear is a bit shaky here, but we'll try it anyway. The Wi-Fi network is OHBM 2019. The password is OHBM 2019. And the way it works is we have questions here. So, and we have a link to a platform called Answer Garden that you could type in and answer the question. So whatever you put in a little text box will show up as one phrase in the little Answer Garden word cloud. Let's see if we can actually have a look at this. Can I click on that? No? Can I go back? Sorry. How can I? Okay, that's the first one. What is your research about? I was kind of naively hoping that I could click on this link and it would bring me to the actual website. Invisible person in tech, is this possible? Maybe not. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll share those word clouds on Twitter afterwards, which is sort of much less fun and interactive, but still possible. How much more time do you need to answer this question? You're done? Doesn't work? Bad internet. Okay. So maybe you could turn to the person next to you and introduce yourself, say your name, and say what your research is. Go. Okay. If you've all suitably introduced yourselves to each other, there was another question here we wanted to do for the online interview. If that's not working, we are going to skip over that. I would like you to think about the next few questions. One is, what is your dream job 5 years from now? One is, please share a failure from your work or your career. One that you're comfortable sharing, right? It doesn't have to be like your biggest failure ever that keeps you awake at night. Just like, tell the person next to you, what is your dream? Tell the person next to you one thing at which you failed, okay? And if you are brave, I will ask for volunteers to share these 2 bits of information in like 2 minutes or so, okay? Go.
Time, so could we wrap it up after this question, and then
sure.
so that you could ask them for questions from the audience, and there are 2 microphones that they can approach on the left, on the right, and I think there is one on the top.
Okay, so this watch is not.
It's not really correct. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Because we also ate a little bit more time in the beginning, and your talk was supposed to be 20 minutes together with questions, and they put you 25, but it's a mistake. Like.
Okay.
Symposium was supposed to be 20,
sure.
20. Yeah, so if you could ask for questions, but maybe 2 minutes for questions, and then we have to.
Okay. Okay. So I was going to ask a few more questions about coping with failure, about what would you tell a friend if they failed at something, and then finally also, please share a recent success. I was told, talking about coping with failure, that we are running out of time and that I have to wrap it up now and allow 2 minutes for questions. So I'm very sorry, I had not planned this very well. I will put that on my CV of failures. If you would like to ask a question, there are 2 microphones here. And because this is meant to be like an empowering thing, before you ask your questions, I would like you to either share a recent success you've had, so we can all celebrate you, or share something that helps you cope with failure. Say that again? Nobody has successes? Is that what you're saying? Ugh. Then you're not allowed a question. I mean, that's the rules. I'm very sorry.
Hello?
Yes, please, go ahead.
So, hello everybody. I am Elena Melero. I work in Spain, and I work in MRI, applied to synesthesia. And I would say that my greatest success is that what I do, what I research, has a consequence in real life for a lot of people. So for me, the thing that I like most is when I get some emails from people all around the world that are synesthetes, and they write to me and say, thank you for your research. I have learned a lot from that, and I have changed the way I feel about my synesthesia and about how I share with other people. So I think this is my greatest success, and I think that it is also the thing that helps me cope with all the problems we find in science. So all the rejections of papers, all the problems with your research, all of these things that you all know very well. But when you get all this feedback from real people that are improving their lives, I think this is the most rewarding thing. So for me, this is the best success you can have in life.
Yeah, yeah.